Hi, my name is Dahlia Burroughs, freelance editor and aspiring author, and today I'm here to do Emily Bourne's AuthorTube character writing challenge. So if you didn't know, Emily Bourne is about to become a debut author on the 12th of November. Her Australian beachy angsty read In a Mirror is an absolutely fantastic book, and I cannot talk enough about it. If you have been following me on any of my social media, you would have heard me talk about it a lot because I really like it. So the really cool thing about Emily is that she has these unique ways of getting interest in her book or in her social media or whatever the case may be. So this one, in order to celebrate her debut novel In a Mirror, she's created this writing challenge, which is a tag. So at the end of the video I'm going to be tagging a few people, but it's so unique, I've never seen it before, and I'm so excited to get started. So basically you print out a piece of paper like this one, which has character attributes that you cut out and you place in a cup, and you pick one out for each 6 different attributes. You pick one out and then that's your character. That's what creates your character. So once you have all the attributes, you create a character, and then you come up with the inciting incident, and then you create a story out of it. You allow your character to drive the story. The purpose of this is to write a short or long story, or plan the first act of your story, or whatever you wish to do, whatever comes to mind when you have picked out your character attributes. Okay, so the first attribute is personality. Your character can either be bubbly, sullen, curious, or ignorant. So when I tend to create characters, especially main characters, they tend to be probably more on the curious side. They come from dystopian worlds, so they're never really bubbly. I guess they are ignorant though, and occasionally they're sullen. So as long as I don't get bubbly, I think I'll be pretty good. So, that did not go as I intended. I got bubbly. I don't really know how to write bubbly. Obviously this could be a dystopian world, but okay. Okay, the next one is fear. Now the funny thing is that in Emily's video, she chooses possibly what I think would be kind of a fun one to explore, but she hated it, so I'm gonna see what I get. The options for fear are bats, sailboats, cotton candy, which in Australia we call fairy floss, and metallic objects. So I hope that I get the bats one, because I think that would be easier to write. It's a pretty common fear. Okay, I can work with this. So my character's personality is bubbly. My character's fear is sailboats. Okay, I can kind of see this working. She or he, probably gonna be she, I don't really write male characters, but anyway, could have fallen off a sailboat and had a really traumatic experience. Perhaps there was a shark involved. I don't know, we'll see. Attribute number 3 is quirk. I'm pretty excited for this one. So, you can either get eye twitches when angry, taps foot when nervous, twirls hair around a finger to flirt, and ears turn red when lying. I really hope I don't get the flirting one, because I don't write romance. I don't know how to put that across. But she has a bubbly personality, so it could... Okay, I really don't want that one. I really don't want that one. But I would be pretty happy with taps foot when nervous. I can work with that. Okay, so I got eye twitches when angry. So the funny thing about this is that she has a bubbly personality. So could she be bubbly because she has, like, you know, a short temper or something? Like, she can be really happy and then suddenly, bam, she's angry. Maybe someone tries to get her to go on a sailboat. Like, maybe she finds a friend whose family are rich and they have sailboats, and I don't know, why would she go on one though, if she's scared of them? The next attribute is aspiration. They could aspire to be a famous trumpet player. I played drums. I don't even know how to play the trumpet. They could be a world-class surgeon. I hope I don't get that one either. Own a home, aspiring to be something very high up. A homeowner, part of the system. Okay, I could still turn this into a dystopian world. We could work with this. Or climb the Himalayas. If I create a dystopian world, that means it has to be set on our Earth and have the Himalayas still be a thing. Let's see how I go. Okay, my bubbly sailboat fearing character aspires to own a home. This is sounding a lot like a contemporary story. I don't write contemporary. The fifth attribute is family. Okay, so typically my characters, they have a family. Obviously everyone has to have a family. They have a family, but they don't tend to get on with their family or have anything to do with them, or there's a reason why there's a break in the family unit for some reason. So I think it's going to be rough. Okay, the options are orphan with no siblings, mum and dad and brother, please no, 2 dads and 2 sisters, no, it's too many family, no, too much. I would like orphan, just so that she can have no family. Why would she be bubbly? Okay, anyway, or lives with grandmother. So basically the only one I want out of that is orphan with no siblings, although I could work with lives with grandmother. Do they have to be blood related? I got a win, maybe. Why didn't I get curious? This could have been perfect. Anyway, the one I got was orphan with no siblings. Maybe, right? Okay. So, the reason why she's an orphan, the reason why she's an orphan with no siblings is because her family were killed on a sailboat and she's happy to cover it. You know, the psychological thing where when your life's a mess, then you pretend to be happy and you're like overly happy. Yep, that's the one. But her eye twitches when she's angry because obviously she still has anger, but she doesn't want to show it, so she doesn't burst out verbally. It's all gestures and subtleties. And she wants to own a home because, well, her family died. I guess she just wants her family home again. Okay, this is working. And finally, we are on to the final attribute, which is the financial situation. My character could either be bankrupt, work 2 jobs to make ends meet, has family money, yep, that could work as well, died on a sailboat, suddenly she's got money, she wants to own a home so she can easily own a home, something's stopping her, don't know what yet, or has won $1 million from the lottery. I think I could make every one of these work for possibly a dystopian, The Truman Show type dystopian novel story. I said dystopian twice there, just so you know it's dystopian. I think I could make every one of them work apart from winning the lottery. Unless she wins the lottery and then she is robbed, but it'd be no bank account. It's like she's just walks out of the lottery place with like $1 million in her pocket. So she didn't win the lottery. This character works 2 jobs to make ends meet. The theory that I have going here kind of works with this because, okay, so obviously she has no siblings or parents because they died on a sailboat, hence her fear. She internalizes her anger, hence the eye twitching. She's bubbly because she internalizes all the anger. She wants to own a home because she wants to have the family setting, but obviously she has to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. So the inciting incident for this, it sounds like, would have been the sailboat issue, because obviously that if that hadn't happened, the rest of this wouldn't have happened. dilemma, and probably not the dilemma that you thought I would be having. So when I first started looking at this scenario, I thought that family life would have been amazing, and that's why she wanted to own her own home and whatever else, but it seemed to come out of nowhere. But the thought crossed my mind that the parents weren't doing too well. So the character throws herself into work as a distraction because that's what her mum used to do. It just fitted really well with the story. And then I wrote that before the sailboat went down, the mum and dad weren't in a good place. Like, they were fighting and everything. And then what I thought would be a great idea is, what if the mum was that stressed with internalizing all of her anger that she made the boat go down? Maybe not intentionally, that was my first thought, but maybe unintentionally. Like, you know, maybe she had a bottle of wine or a glass of wine, or I don't know, something, and something happened. I don't really know the structure of a sailboat, so I'm not rich, so you know. I don't know how to break a sailboat. But maybe accidentally her and the dad were fighting, and accidentally she had a fit of rage and did something that broke the boat, that made it go down. I'm thinking way too much about the inciting incident. Well, this is always my favorite part. So you might have heard me say this before, but I don't write contemporary and I don't write romance, and there's a very good reason for that. I started off this story with a character who was normal. She may have suffered a little bit of PTSD from the sailboat accident and losing her parents and her younger sister, but she was relatively well adjusted. And then I had the idea for her mother intentionally sinking the ship, the sailboat. And then the story is really dark. I can't write lovely relationships, whether it be between two people or someone in their family. I just can't do it, okay? So, yep, that's where that stands. So I just typed up 1,340 words. I'm gonna read you the story so you can see how these attributes turned out. Like, I thought I was going to write something that was contemporary. I'm sorry in advance. Trigger warning, this may contain a psychopath. Here goes nothing. Paris left her psychologist's office with a heavy heart. How could she tell her that the reason why she lashed out at her co-worker was because she couldn't face her fears? The psychologist wouldn't believe her anyway. As far as she knew, Paris was doing just fine. Paris plastered a smile and nodded to the receptionist. No, That wouldn't do. She would have to deal with her fear and move on, even if the thought of revisiting the site of her parents' death made her sick. She wiped the sweat from her brow as she stepped out into the Australian summer heat. Today would be a long day. Ever since pushing her co-worker into a cake stand, Paris had been home, alone with her thoughts. Her employer had insisted she take the time off. Today was the day she would return to work. How would her co-worker feel? Paris would say that she was terribly sorry. After all, since when did someone constantly ask about one's family? Paris stepped to the side as a horde of joggers ran past, bringing with them the stench of sweat and the sound of lycra friction. As if the air wasn't bad enough, smog hung heavier than usual over the city, the heat trapping in all the various industrial scents. She crossed the road and opened the door to Briggs Stationery and Furniture and held her eyes down as she passed the receptionist. Valerie lifted her head but said nothing. Her wide eyes spoke volume. Few greeted her as Paris pursued her co-worker. She was in the cubicle near the biggest window. She always got what she wanted. The view, the sing-song of the birds nesting on the sill, and the freshest air on the hottest day. Paris clenched her teeth. Now was no time to think of that. She straightened her shoulders and drew in a breath, finally allowing her head to rise. She was confident. Her psychologist had told her that her actions were wrong, but she was suffering from PTSD, so she could be excused just a little bit. After she apologized to her co-worker, she would have to race to the bar, lest she be fired from that for another late start. She couldn't afford to lose either of her jobs. She needed them to rebuild her family, even if her family wasn't perfect to begin with. What had happened the day of the sailboat? She ground her teeth and pushed the thought deep down as she approached the largest window. She slowed as she approached the cubicle and cleared her throat. "Beatrice, I want to apologize." The older woman reeled back in her willy office chair, the newest chair around. Paris' thoughts trailed momentarily to her lumpy 16-year-old chair that was neither ergonomic or comfortable. "I am sorry for what happened." Beatrice shook her head. "If my cakes were dry, you could have verbalized the problem. There was no need to attack me." That's how they all said it, that Paris attacked her. If anything, she misjudged the push and collided with her shoulder. "The cake was dry, but I shouldn't have behaved in such a manner." "Is there something wrong with your eye?" "It's twitching." Paris closed her eyes, sucking down a breath. Her mother had said the same thing that day. "I just wanted to apologize." A gust of air blew through Beatrice's window as she leaned back and crossed her arms. "For what?" Paris wanted to shut the window. The wind was too loud, too obnoxious, and slightly salty. "For what happened?" "I won't accept." The office had quieted, and while they tried not to look, all Paris's co-workers were glancing and paying attention. Maybe they wanted her to attack Beatrice again for the fact that she has the best spot in the office. Maybe they too hated her cake. "You must accept." "Paris, you need to accept responsibility for what you have done." She snorted. "You can't even look me in the eye." Paris balled her fists and shoved them into the pocket of her new faux fur jacket, the one her mother had wanted to purchase before she died. "Are you even listening to me?" She opened her eyes to the spray of the ocean, the water lapping at the sides of the sailboat. She wiped her palms on the pants and glanced around. The sound of shouting and cussing filled the void around her. Her parents stood on either side of the boat, her mother pointing aggressively at her father, while her father threw his hands into the air. Her mother threw down her wine glass, the liquid spreading like thin blood as a plastic glass bounced along the floor. "All I wanted was a home to raise our family in, and you couldn't even do that." "I'm not the only one making money. Where's your contribution?" The father's voice was raw, the vein in his head throbbing. Her little sister crouched by the steering wheel, her cries matching the pitch of the seagulls. "How the hell are we going to support Paris when she goes to university? We can't even afford to pay our mortgage." "So why do they have a sailboat?" "I don't know." Her father kicked the seat. "We'll sell the damn house. Why the hell is that so important to you?" "Because I deserve a home." The bottle of wine smashing onto the floor of the boat came back to Paris. The shrill squeal of her sister and her father wrenched her. Incomplete thought. The shrill squeal of her sister also came back to her? Dunno. And her father wrenched her from the steering wheel. The boat tipped and swayed in the waves. She wanted them to be quiet, if only for a second, but they wouldn't shut up for long enough. Her eye vibrated. Her mother wailed on her father. "You can't even look me in the damn eye." Her sister's howls raised in volume as her father tried to calm her. He held her tight to his chest, kissing her forehead and rocking. Her mother laughed loudly, cruelly. Paris smiled, forcing her eyes to light up. Everything would be okay. She knew how to make them quiet. This is why all the love interests die as well. As her mother covered her face, screaming into her hands, Paris hooked her fingers around the steering wheel and jolted it to the right. The boat tipped, swaying up onto a wave on a dangerous angle. She only needed to get their attention. But they didn't look. They grabbed on and continued their nasty words. Paris swung the wheel the other way, stepping on the accelerator. The engine revved, spitting water out the propeller as the boat lurched to the left. This time the boat caught the wave and it swung up and over, the contents of the boat ejecting into the water. This time her parents screamed and wailed on her. As they came after her, she pressed the accelerator harder and spun the wheel. They flew to the side, unable to stay stable for long enough to get her. But this time the boat didn't come crashing back down onto the waves. The side screeched along a rock and they went toppling overboard. The present came whirling back at a pace that made Paris feel like vomiting. She was on the floor, covered in a cold sweat, gasping for air. Beatrice's face was over hers. The old woman's jowls sagged. "Are you okay?" She was frantic, and while Paris felt the same way, she pushed the edges of her lips upward into a smile. "I want to apologize for pushing you, Beatrice." The older woman closed her eyes. "It's okay, honey. Just tell me you're okay. You dropped to the floor." Paris cocked her head, pushing down the memories that had resurfaced. "I'm okay." She sat up, escaping Beatrice's clutches. "I have to go to work or I'll be fired and I can't lose the job." Beatrice nodded. Her co-workers moved aside so she could pass. As she stepped out into the blistering heat, she thought she could hear her mother complimenting her jacket. She smiled. Everything would be okay. Finally, her parents had stopped fighting and her sister could rest peacefully. I have every intention to make relationships good in my stories. I do, I promise. I want my characters to be happy. But it doesn't happen. Everything just keeps, being placed in the perfect position so that it turns out to be an awful story when no one's happy. Apart from the psychopathic character who thinks that they're happy, but really they're just insane. Honestly, sometimes I'm concerned about my own stories. That was really cool. I really, really love this, and I'm kind of going to steal it, I think, for when I publish. I'm going to steal all of her concepts. So basically, I'm going to tag 4 specific people. But if you want to do this tag, you are more than welcome. Honestly, please do, and please tag me or tell me you've done this, because I want to watch everyone's video. This is so cool. I watched Katie Wilson's video the other day, and that was just as good, although her story was a million times better. Like, her story is really good, and so is Emily's. Like, the concepts were great, and I feel like mine are like subpar, so I'm excited to see how everyone else does. Please do better than me and maybe have a bit of cuteness in your stories. I specifically tag Danny from DR Ranger Writing, Brooke from By the Brook, Marissa Mohi from Marissa Mohi, and Tash from Truly Tash, and I will link their accounts below as well. They're all fantastic. Go and check them out. If you have any questions or want me to cover a specific topic, drop a comment below. I post writing and editing related videos, so hit that little bell and subscribe if you want to be notified. If you want to know more about me or my work, check out any of my social media, which is linked below, or head over to my new website, which looks beautiful. And don't forget to sign up to my monthly newsletter, which at the moment I have a giveaway happening. So until the 28th of December 2019, if you subscribe to my mailing list, you go into the draw to win 25% off all editing services you require for 2020. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.